What is a Castlevania? After rebooting the franchise with the action-focused Lords of Shadow, MercurySteam continues their take on the legendary series with Mirror of Fate. With its heroes side-scrolling along a flat plane through a sprawling castle map, Mirror of Fate certainly bears resemblance to classic Castlevania titles. But the heart that beats within is that of a different game with a different story to tell. It's an experimental transplant of a new core identity into an old body, and the result is a strange and somewhat awkward hybrid that struggles to match its forefathers. The story thread that began to unwind in Lords of Shadow is picked up and carried on in Mirror of Fate. The game jumps through time, tying together the fates of its various individuals and creating interesting, vampiric melodrama as it goes. This multi-character approach equates to three main protagonists, and while each is differentiated by his own monster-killing accoutrement, they all move and fight in essentially the same way: heavy jumps and long-range whiplashing.
Run, Simon, don't stop!
Beast slaying has much the same feel here that it did in Lords of Shadow, dodging enemy attacks in arena-like spaces and laying blow after blow onto enemies before grabbing them for a finisher. These struggles have a hard time fitting into a constrained 2D space, your whip has an incredibly long reach, and combat is mostly a matter of timing rather than proper positioning or distance. On the defensive side, certain blows from your foes may be parried, triggering an opportunity for reprisal, but just as often enemy attacks are unblockable and must be avoided with a jump or dodge move. The screen often feels crowded when there's fighting, and while fights against single, powerful enemies can be entertaining despite unrewarding QuickTime sequences, there's just not a lot of room for finesse. If the enemy is in range, start flailing. When they attack, get out of there. Part of the blame lies with the control method. With the D-pad assigned to trigger various character abilities, you're forced to use the 3DS analog nub to control character movement. While this lets the game differentiate between your character walking or running depending on how hard you're pressing the stick, it's a terrible match for the action-focused gameplay, making it more difficult to quickly change direction or stop on a dime. Jumping from platform to platform requires more patience than skill, and movement in general has a heavy and awkward feel. In addition, the game sometimes enforces arbitrary rules for where you can and can't go, and it's never really clear how far your character can fall without hurting himself. It all comes together to make exploring the dark Gothic environments much less fun. While there are multiple playable characters, none can escape the generally clunky feeling of the action. Rather than facilitating different playstyles, each new character offers a linear ability progression. The double jumps and wall jumps of self-hating vampire Alucard are a noticeable upgrade from Simple Simon's basic moveset, and the fighting moves and health boosts you earn by leveling up one character will be passed along to the next. It's the magical abilities and optional weapons that set the characters apart, although they don't create many interesting gameplay differences. A bat projectile isn't that much different than a boomerang, and Alucard's promising wolf form does nothing more than give him a little extra elbow grease for his whip attacks, and the ability to rip open special wolf doors.
It wasn't supposed to be like this!
The connected castle layout invites more of the exploration element many fans associate with the series. You'll encounter many inaccessible areas as you make your way ever forward. These sealed-off doors most often conceal small cubbyholes with a single power-up unlocked by one character ability or another. You can increase your maximum magic, health, and the number of sub-weapons you can toss, but it's all entirely optional. The game is generous with checkpoints, with more challenging boss fights saving your progress once you've done a certain amount of damage. So, while you may backtrack and scrounge around for a few pickups, the primary motivation is no more interesting than increasing your completion percentage. Mirror of Fate leaves a poor first impression, but the game gradually becomes more enjoyable as you move through it. The game takes time out to puzzle near the halfway point for a welcome change of pace, and saves its best moments for the end of the game, which you can reach in around 10 hours. Taking on the form of what most players associate with classic Castlevania, Mirror of Fate seems to stumble around in an unfamiliar body. It's at least playable, if not always enjoyable, and the game wants so badly to be Castlevania that it manages to tell an interesting tale in the end.
No. No! Show me more, damn it!